Hello everybody! Welcome back to Let's Play Great Ace Attorney 2 Resolve. This is V-Diffuser, and on last episode we started our third case. The Great Exhibition is underway, and we finally got our ability to practice court in London reinstated. And we already got our case right now. I feel out of my depth before I've even started. Still, we should go to the prison straight away then, and try to meet with this German professor, who didn't even sound German in the video, don't you think? Definitely. Ah yes, one more thing about the case. There's a connection with our mutual acquaintance, the Reaper. Oh, with Lord Van Zeeks? How? All sorts of conferences have been taking place around the world to coincide with the Great Expedition. Yes. And next month the largest and most important of them will take place at last. The International Forensic Science Symposium. It does seem as though criminal investigation needs to embrace scientific methods, doesn't it? Exactly! Ah! London, the global epicenter of culture, science, and wealth, now has a population exceeding 6 million. Sadly, crime in the capital is growing at a similarly startling rate. Yes. So it's imperative that we use the latest scientific methods to investigate and resolve cases as efficiently as possible. Yes. Which is what's known as forensic science, isn't it? Exactly! The future of policing. Ah! Regrettably, however, Britain is currently dragging its feet when it comes to the adoption of forensic methods. Oh dear, that's alarming. Exactly! It's extremely alarming. That's 3 times now. If I were Her Majesty's Attorney General, you could be sure the numbers of crimes committed and resolved in London would be very different to the current figures. And I can cite 12 solid arguments and 223 individual reasons to support my claim. Sorry? By way of apology for keeping you waiting earlier, I shall detail every one now. What? Oh, how fascinating. I hope I didn't peak the mic. It all began 15 years ago. I was... yes. Oh, God. And we fell asleep. And that, more or less, sums up my feelings on the matter. In the simplest of terms, of course. Well, it's good that you used the simplest. Essentially, to formally establish a forensics investigation division within Scotland Yard. That is my mission. Oh, right, yes. That's wonderful. Exactly. Wonderful is precisely what it will be. She tuned out as well. But then again, she's also 10, and that's excusable. Oh, is it over? Did you learn anything useful? I actually drifted off for the most part. He's surprisingly ardent about forensic science. Alrighty. Oh, that reminds me. Have you seen this? Reports of the overwhelming success of the Great Exhibition. Of course! No, not that. The story on the back page. What story? The Reaper attacked? Ah, that. You've enjoyed some victories in court against my #1 prosecutor, have you not? Oh, Mr. Reaper, what happened to him? He wasn't killed, was he? There's no need for concern. Lord Van Zieks will not be so easily dispatched, I assure you. Can you tell us what happened? I'd really love to know. Very well. If it interests you. It does. Strangely. Fortunately, Lord Van Zieks emerged from the attack unscathed. Street ruffians are no match for that man. He's a very capable fighter. That's incredible. They were armed with guns. Why was he attacked, though? Do we know? It's related to events that occurred a month ago. A leader of one of the capital's criminal organizations was indicted and prosecuted by Van Zieks. But the man was acquitted. I've no doubt large sums of money were involved behind the scenes. Large sums of money. A deplorable situation. Members of the jury were bribed, it seems. However, despite winning his freedom, the man in question met a dramatic end yesterday. But you're not suggesting that was the work of the Reaper, surely? The victim's henchmen surely seem to think so. He was a man by the name of Asman. Mr. Odie Asman. What? Did you say Asman? That's the man who died in the big explosion at the Great Exhibition. Yes. Known publicly as an investor, but in reality, the head of a significant criminal organization. Unbelievable. I wonder, could I ask you something, Lord Strongheart? Try me. Why do you use Lord Van Zieks as a prosecutor? All the criminals who manage to get off in court then meet with mysterious ends outside the courtroom. And fearful of that fate, they seek to strike at Lord Van Zieks first. I know there's no evidence that he actually is the Reaper in that sense, but still. Something's clearly going on here. Van Zieks worked for the prosecution service for 2 reasons. Firstly, the man is the best prosecutor in the capital, bar none. Well, that's one good reason. And secondly, any deaths of criminals that have occurred outside the courtroom following his trials are nothing to do with him. But that doesn't make any sense. How can you explain the way so many have died, if not by someone's hand? Van Zieks may have earned himself the moniker of the Reaper, but he's no killer. So he will continue to prosecute on behalf of the Crown. Unless he wishes otherwise, of course. Well, that's ominous. Well, I must be leaving for my next engagement. I'm already 11 hours and 16 minutes late. My colleagues may be starting to fidget. Yeah, if that were me, I'd have already left. 11 hours late? That's quite something. That meeting had already started when I arrived back here for this engagement with you. So lateness was inevitable. Time stops for no man. I'm sure it stopped for me during those 12 solid arguments and 253 reasons. Oh yes, where would I find Lord Van Zieks now? I would assume he's at his office. Right, I'll go and ask him about the attack in person. I want to get this straight from the horse's mouth. Away with you now. I'm leaving Professor Hairbrain's defense entirely in your hands. Of course, yes. Thank you very much, my lord. Alrighty. Let's see. What is the... Oop. Now is not... Hey. We've never been here. What's the guy's office like? Oh, wow. Dang. Oh, so this is a legendary Reaper's office. It appears so. Edgeworth's got nothing on this guy. Of course, Edgeworth is also not nobility. Ugh, starts to chill down your spawn, doesn't it? What an amazingly deathly atmosphere. Oh, is that... That hooded figure was so still I hadn't noticed his or her presence. I wonder who it is. What are you doing here? Ah! He's as unwelcoming as I thought he'd be. Actually, maybe even more so. Oh, I'm glad to see you're well. I am. So, who's the person over by the wall being punished for something or other? No punishment is taking place here. Hope? That's my apprentice, and he's sitting there of his own free will. I didn't know you had an apprentice. Must be the same person who was pictured in the newspaper. Ah, the plot thickens. He's very able in combat, a requisite skill for anyone under my tutelage. Are you referring to attack on the Reaper that was reported in the papers? The Reaper? I'd be interested to know the Reaper's true identity myself. Assuming, that is, such a fabled fiend genuinely inhabits our great courtrooms. Alrighty. Well, Strongheart said that the assault last night was some sort of a revenge attack. True. Carried out by henchmen of Odie Asmund's criminal organization. The investigation meant their arrests were imminent. Presumably, some hoped to kill me before that happened. Odie Asmund. He's always masqueraded as one of London's most powerful financiers, a global investor. But his enormous wealth came to him by underhanded means, by his criminal activities. And he used that money to buy himself a verdict of not guilty when he found himself in court, didn't he? Being prosecuted by you, Mr. Reaper. But the man got his comeuppance in the end. Yesterday, in fact. In extraordinary circumstances. It was a most unusual cause of death. I know about that. I was super high voltage instantaneous kinesis gone wrong. Mr. Asmund died when the demonstration on the public experimentation stage ended in an enormous explosion. Correct. And you think I have some kind of divine ability to cause an accident like that to happen, do you? Well, he's not exactly Mr. Splody-Head from Avatar. Well, no, that does seem a little far-fetched. This man really is a fabled Reaper. He has to be innocent of this particular death, at least. It's strange how this has worked out, isn't it, Bruno? I mean, what with you taking on the Professor's defense for the trial tomorrow... What? You're gonna be defending him? Oh yes, that's right, though I barely know the man's name yet, to be honest. Albert Hairbrain. That's right. Do you know him by any chance? Of course. He's a contemporary of mine. We were at university together. You're... What?! That's new. Are you an Oxford or a Cambridge man by any chance? I understood that the Professor Hairbrain was from Germany, though. Hairbrain's from a respectable British family. After graduating from the University of London, he moved to Germany to carry out research. That's all. So you were students together. I was in the Faculty of Law, of course, and he in Science. So our paths rarely crossed. But curiously, we got along. I've not met him since my university days. I certainly didn't expect our next encounter to take this form. Yeah, you two guys are about as similar as apples and oranges. And with you of all people, representing him. Only if I make it out of this office alive. He's actually been charged with murder, it seems. Yes, I know, because the prosecution will be handled by me. By you? But you made it sound as if you and the professor had been friends. We are friends. It's true. Then why would you do this? If the Reaper's the prosecutor, there's nothing anyone can do to save him. He's doomed. What's Lord Van Zeek's thinking? What do you mean by what you said before? If you'd like to know the Reaper's identity, does that mean? If I'm a crown prosecutor and a mortal like any other, I'm no demigod. Of course, if you ask about maybe half the fan base, they disagree with you on that. But they've all died, haven't they? The people you prosecuted, I mean. Whether or not the trial ended in a conviction or an acquittal. Those I prosecute are the vilest wretches of our society. People who without question deserve to be found guilty. The world is a better place without them. I doubt you'd say that about Sosuke Natsume. But that's not true of Mr. Natsume, for example. He wasn't a vile wretch at all. No, it was Ginny. In fact, she's ever so hardworking now. I can't deny that since I encountered you, things have taken a turn. But the point is this. If any of those vile wretches that escaped justice subsequently died in mysterious circumstances, it was at the hand of their own kind. It's not my work. Lord Stronghout said the same. He believes you're not involved in any way. But you were attacked by those ruffians because I believe it's true. The fact is, since people started to call me the Reaper of the Bailey, the numbers of serious crimes in the capital has dropped substantially. Oh! It would appear that even the most hardened criminals can be made fearful of their lives. Do you mean to say... I mean to say that if my pseudonym serves a useful purpose, I adopt it gladly and with honor. It's putting you in danger. You could be killed. If that is my fate, let God decide. Lord Van Zeeks. Alrighty. Let's see what you've got here. Lord Van Zeeks, about the article in this paper. Ah yes, it seems there was a reporter nearby when that little skirmish took place. I had no idea I'd been photographed. That was careless of me. It looks as though it was taken after the people who attacked you had run away, though. Rest assured, the police have already apprehended every last one of them. I like the cosplay of this guy, but all the bits and pieces, that'd be a little bit too much. Besides, I don't have the hair for him anymore. I used to. But there's someone else fighting alongside you, it seems. Jeez, you have a frickin' wine storage. And I think it's the same man who's sitting over there as we speak, isn't it? As I mentioned already, he's my apprentice. Perhaps you could tell us a little more about him? He's in my tutelage to become a prosecutor. So you could say he's my apprentice, I suppose. Ah, like you are to Hurley then, Bruno. I don't remember taking an apprenticeship with a great detective. He's currently compiling a report about last night's attack. Looks like he's wearing some kind of mask. On Lord Strongheart's orders, nobody knows the man's face, or indeed his identity. But why would you agree to take this on such a clearly suspicious individual? Lord Strongheart's orders again. He's not one for meaningless follies. There will be a good reason for his actions. I hope you're right. Ah! The task is complete? Good. In that case, you can collate all the briefs. Your face looks familiar. Nice to meet you. Back to work again. That was really strange, though. I've never met the man before. I didn't even know he existed, and yet... somehow it didn't feel like our first encounter. Don't bother trying to converse with him. He says nothing to anybody from outside this office. Lord Strongheart has strictly forbidden it. I see. Why are you so interested in my apprentice anyway? Oh no, I mean... sorry, I didn't mean to... The way he stood there so casually, yet with that flawless posture. It couldn't be. Ah yes, there's something I've been meaning to ask you. Oh, what's that? That Nipponese man. Is he faring well? Sorry? The one arrested twice in succession 6 months ago. With the stoop and the mustache and the jitters. Ah, Mr. Natsume, you mean? I'm not sure he'd be very pleased to find out you identified him from that list, Bruno. He's fine, thank you. In fact, I received a letter from him by international post only the other day. I see. Well, I think we can end our discussion there, don't you? There's little time left before tomorrow's trial. I advise you to spend it investigating the case. Yes, thank you for the advice, and for the conversation. I can't believe he's asking after Sosuke-san, after a Nipponese. I'm not sure whether to feel happy about that or worried. I never imagined that Mr. Reaper would be friends with a mad scientist, did you? Stranger things can happen. That's a turn up for the books. A mad scientist? You mean Professor Hairbrain? Yeah, it might be worth quizzing the professor about his relationship with Lord Van Zeeks, I think. Well... time to move to prison. And we'll likely end the video off there. Oh, there he is! The warden said cell 11. That's this one. Oh, there's someone curled up in a ball in the back corner, look. What's his name again? Professor Albert Hairbrain, wasn't it? Excuse me, Professor Hairbrain? Who are you? I'm Reno Inosuke Naruhodo. I'm a defense lawyer. A lawyer! Ah! Was it something I said? A lawyer, you say? Would you be here about the experiment? Are you going to defend my hypothesis? Your hypothesis? Sorry, I don't... Yesterday's demonstration! The demonstration was... The magnificent demonstration was... It was an out-and-out success, by anyone's calculations. But despite that, no one listens. No lawyer believes in the science. When it's explained, they all leave. At high velocity. Now's probably not a good time to mention that your zeal made my concentration leave for a while, too. Alrighty. Yesterday's demonstration. You mentioned the demonstration yesterday. The papers have called it a spectacular failure. After all, a man died in the explosion, didn't he? Ah! Yes, you could interpret the results that way if you really wanted to. Well, I suppose in the strictest sense, the experiment was a failure. At the same time, it was a great success. You've lost me. I saw it with my own eyes, right there in front of me. Mr. Asman was spontaneously disassembled. You know, explosions do that. Until then, everything was going exactly as my calculations had predicted. At that point, you should have been beamed to the Crystal Tower by instantaneous kinesis. Yeah, we still haven't got that today. However, the machine exploded and Mr. Asman, in fact, perished. Yes, I can't deny that part of the experiment was a failure. So what you're really saying is the large explosion that killed Mr. Asman was an accident, correct? Well, Bigwiz had you arrested on suspicion of murder. I was responsible for a man's death. That is the immutable truth here. And for that, I wish to be punished. At once. But... murder? Never in a million years! It was an accident! Simply an accident! I see. Hurley and I were talking this morning, you know. He said the situation would change completely depending on whether it was treated as an accident or a murder. How exactly? Well, if it really was an accident, then the professor's machine would be kept in protective custody. On what grounds? Ah yes, it's newly established here in Great Britain. The Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act. That one passed me by. But if the case is treated as murder, then they'll say my machine was the murder weapon, and they'll be able to pour over it as much as they like. If they examine it in detail, they find out how it's made, and then they'll be able to copy my idea. My precious hypothesis will be stolen. The machine must be protected at all costs. That's what's imperative. This whole situation is shown to have been an accident in tomorrow's trial. I see now. We got a lot to pour over here. I think it's time we cut things off here. So I'll see you guys next time. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.